Hello, everyone. Welcome to our second book club of 2022. If you were with us last week, we did our last 2 weeks ago, I guess it was now. Do you guys feel like time is flying? We're in the last week of January already. It's just crazy, right? That's why we want to be so intentional with our time and our goals, because we don't just want life to happen right to us. We want to make sure we're creating life by design. So that's why I love this tool, because it helps me slow down every day and think about where I'm going. So anyway, 2 weeks ago, we talked about the power of decision. And today we're going to be talking about persistence, right? Because once you decide, a lot of people decided at the beginning of the new year that they were going to do something, right? But it was probably more of a, yeah, I'm interested in doing this, but statistically, most people will have fallen off by this time in the year already with that goal because they were not committed, right? And so persistence is what it's going to take for commitment. So I'm going to be doing another read aloud today so we can pretend like it's back in the day when you went to the library and you got to just listen to someone else read. And I will also make sure you have access to the full article if you want to follow along or have that on your own. It's called Persistence by Bob Proctor. So those of you who are on live, you can Google it, and I will make sure to put this with the recording when I post it. But before I do that, in February, we're going to start with our first actual book where you will come to our book club having read ahead of time. So we're going to be using the ULA Find Balance book. If you have not gotten your copy of this yet, make sure you grab your copy. You can get it directly through me, which is just through the ULA store. So lissafiggins.com/ULA-store. Or you can get it wherever you find books. So just make sure you get that ordered, because the second and the fourth Tuesdays, we're on Tuesday, right, of the month is when we'll be meeting. And no, we're not going to read half the book in 2 weeks and then the other half in the other 2 weeks. I think we're going to break this up over a couple of months, because I would rather us do this well than just do a crash reading and check off a list, right? So this is what's coming up next. So make sure you have that. But today, I'm going to read to you this article on persistence. And I read this article many times actually over the month of January. And it really, when you read something over and over again, it gets in you. So there's power of repetition. So I encourage you to go back and reread this or to listen to this again, because you will pick up different things every time, right? And so really kind of see, what is it that I'm hearing today as I'm listening to this? Okay, so this is called Persistence. In 1953, a beekeeper from Auckland, New Zealand, earned world recognition with fame and fortune to follow. Knighted by Queen Elizabeth for his accomplishment, Sir Edmund Hillary and his native guide, Tenzing Norgay, became the first two people to climb Mount Everest and safely return after having tried and failed on 2 previous attempts. Now let's stop right there. How many people would try again, right, to climb Mount Everest? Like, we're not just talking a little easy jaunt. We're talking a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of focus, a lot of commitment, probably a lot of pain, right? There was some reason why they failed the first 2 times, and yet they persisted. Hillary had 2 obvious character strengths, which literally took him to the very top. He had vision and persistence. Without persistence, all his skills would have meant nothing. These qualities and characteristics are the same as those you need to lead you to the top of your mountain. You are confronted by mountains every day. You can either climb the mountains or you can remain in the foothills. Any successful person will tell you that persistence is absolutely essential to climbing the mountains and changing your results. I just heard someone tell this story earlier today. Imagine yourself living on an island, right? And as you look out, there's a mountain behind you on one side, and all you can see on the other side is just sand and then this open water, right? And that's the only perspective you have. But guess what? If you go up to the top of that mountain, you're going to see a whole new perspective. There may be other things on that island that you thought you were there all by yourself. You thought there was no civilization around. But when we get to that higher perspective, then we can sometimes see all those other things everyone else is missing out on, right? So those mountains, are there for a reason and can be a good thing for us to go up. The individuals who remain in the foothills or down on the beach, right, have never chosen to develop this strength. These people dream of being stars. They want to receive the fame and fortune, but fame is not a common suitor. Fame only comes calling after a high price has been paid, and many people march in the foothills and refuse to pay that price, right? Like 92% of people who don't ever reach their goals. Napoleon Hill wrote in his book, Think and Grow Rich, there may be no heroic connotation to the word persistence, but that quality is to the character of the human being what carbon is to steel. Hill was right. Persistence is a unique mental strength, a strength which is essential to combat the fierce power of repeated rejections and numerous other obstacles that sit in waiting and are all a part of winning in a fast-moving, ever-changing world. There are hundreds of biographies of highly successful men and women who have cut a path for others to follow while leaving their mark on the scrolls of history. Every one of these great individuals were persistent. In many cases, it was the only quality that separated them from everyone else. Let me read that again. Every one of these great individuals were persistent, but in many cases, it was the only quality which separated them from everyone else, right? Sometimes it's not that we have way better skills than anybody else, we just are the ones who persist. Consider Ben Hogan. He weighed only 135 pounds, but every ounce was saturated with persistence. Born into a poor family, Hogan began to caddy at a local golf club as a boy to earn extra money for his family. This led to the birth of a dream, and he would become a great golfer. Through a great deal of hard work, practice, and persistence, Ben Hogan became one of the world's greatest golfers. In 1948, he won the United States Open Championship. His accomplishments earned him world recognition, but he had not yet faced his mountain. The next year, Hogan was involved in a head-on collision with a bus, and he was not expected to survive his injuries. He did, but the doctor said he would never walk again. That was their opinion, not Ben Hogan's. He insisted his golf clubs be put in the corner of his hospital room as he began to visualize himself playing golf again. 1 year later, Hogan won the United States Open Championship again. The next year, he won 3 major championships. In all, 54 of his victories that followed that near tragic accident, right? Does persistence pay off? Ask Ben Hogan, right? Another person who has aptly demonstrated how far persistence can take you is the late Charlie Boswell. Boswell was a Birmingham, Alabama businessman, salesman, author, and golfer. He holds numerous national and international golf championships. But what really distinguishes him was that he was blind. That's right. Charlie Boswell lost sight after being blown off a tank in the Second World War. Selling, golfing, and writing were all pursuits that Boswell had engaged in after his tragic mishap. Do you think that Charlie Boswell is persistent? You alone decide to quit or continue when those inevitable mountains loom up on the road to your goal. Let me read that again. You alone decide to quit or to continue when those inevitable mountains loom up on the road to your goal. Whatever you conceive and believe through persistence, you must achieve. So decide right now to be one of those people who make it happen, to be one of the group who receives the lion's share of the profits. Understand that to join this select group of big producers, you must begin your persistence exercise now. Make persistence your most well-developed habit. Persistence cannot be replaced by any other quality. Superior skills will not make up for it. A well-rounded formal education cannot replace it. Nor will calculated plans, nor a magnetic personality. When you are persistent, you'll become a leader in your industry. Nothing in the world can take the place of persistence. Talent will not. Nothing is more common than unsuccessful people with talent. Wow. Nothing is more common than unsuccessful people with talent, right? Genius will not. Unrewarded genius is almost a proverb. Education will not. The world is full of educated derelicts. Persistence and determination alone are omnipotent. The slogan, "Press on," has solved and always will solve the problems of the human race. And that was a quote by Calvin Coolidge. The people who never tackle their mountains, who perpetually wander in the foothills or on the beach, right? Most of their lives have, in my opinion, lied to themselves and to everyone else who would listen so often and for so long, they are no longer even aware of what they are doing. They say they are content with their results. They say that climbing a mountain is not important to them, that they are getting by just fine the way they are. Ever heard anybody say that? I'm fine, I'm good, right? Odds are they secretly started to climb that mountain years ago and they got scared. They hit the terror barrier, quickly retreated to their comfort zone, and have been hiding behind their own false rationale ever since. They frequently justify their sick, mediocre performance with statements like, "Why should I go all out? When I get out there, the boss will just want more." These non-productive individuals are lost, or at best, misguided. If you are not able to wake them up, make certain that you do not permit them to pull you into their trap. In fact, When you come in contact with these types of individuals, let them serve as a triggering mechanism to mentally double your commitment to yourself to become more persistent. Right? Wow. Let them serve as a triggering mechanism to mentally double your commitment to yourself to become more persistent. So, how do you become more persistent? That's a good question. Persistence is never developed by accident. You're not born with it and you cannot inherit it. And there is no one in the entire world that can develop persistence for you. Persistence is as interwoven with success as the chicken is with the egg. Ultimately, persistence begins a way of life, but that's not where it begins. To develop the habit, persistence, you must first want something. You have to want something so much that it becomes a heated desire, a passion in your belly. You must literally fall in love with the idea. Yes, literally fall in love with the idea. Magnetize yourself to every part of the idea. Then persistence will be automatic. The very idea of not persisting will become hateful, and anyone who even attempts to take your dream away from you or stop you or slow you down would be in serious trouble. Difficulties, obstacles, and challenges will definitely appear on a regular basis, but because of your persistence, you will achieve victory every time. Very few people have admitted to themselves that this is what I want. This is what I really want, and I'm prepared to give my life for it. That last statement may cause you to sit up and say, wait a minute, and that's fine, but you should seriously think about it because you're already giving your life for what you're doing, right? Good or bad. Even if you're not persisting towards something, you're giving your life for something. Maybe it's Netflix, maybe it's more sleep, maybe it's, whatever. So what are you doing? What are you trading your life for? Are you making a fair trade? Remember, whatever you're doing was your decision, or was it? You could possibly be one of those unfortunate people who have been wandering in the foothills, leaving the decisions of where you are going and what you are doing with your life to other people and just following, always following. Treat this message on persistence as your wake-up call. This red hot message on persistence will help you get out of the foothills and lead you to the very top of the mountain, all the way to the summit. It's not a chairlift. It will not make the climb any easier. You'll still attract the necessary problems and they'll come to strengthen you. But this message will definitely make the climb to the top of the mountain a lot more fun. It will also help you develop the granite strong attitude, the certainty, the inner knowing that you will get to the top. The summit will be yours and the view from the top is going to be awesome. It will be reward enough for all the problems that you encountered to get there. Talking about summits and perseverance, let's go back and think about Ed Hillary. What kind of a passion do you suppose he felt for his goal? He must have truly wanted to climb that mountain. Think of the physical and mental abuse he was subjecting himself to. He was obviously prepared to give his life for what he wanted. Every person who had ever seriously attempted to climb Everest, as far back as our history records go, show they either failed miserably or experienced a tragic death trying. So, wow, could you imagine trying something that everyone either failed miserably or experienced tragic death? Most people, when they think about Sir Edmund Hillary and his expeditions, ask, what kept him wanting to go year after year? He wanted. That's what kept him going. That is why he was persistent. He really wanted at a gut level something enough to keep him going. When a person does not understand not understand that, they'll usually ask why. Why did he want it? He didn't know why. He didn't have to know why. Why wasn't important. Want was important. Persistent people never know why they want. They only know they want and they must have it, and to do it they must do, and to do it they must be. They want it so much they keep imagining it until they become the living, breathing embodiment of whatever the want represents. For those are the steps which must be followed for the creative process to work in our life. Ordinary people did extraordinary things because they consciously recognized what they wanted, and they refused to suppress or dismiss it. They would not let it go, even if failure, rejection, bankruptcy, or death was staring them in the face. It would have to be that way, or the ordinary person would never do the extraordinary. They would never persist. The power of their want and the intensity of their persistence caused them to draw on resources they previously were not aware they possessed. They expressed what they had within, greatness. If the dream is big enough, the facts don't count. The great psychologist Alfred Adler nailed it when he said, "I'm grateful to the idea that has used me." The very idea of persistence filled every cell of Ben Hogan's being, but that was because his want was so strong. Remember, persistence is the real focus of this message. It's important that we keep that in mind because we could very easily get lost climbing Mount Everest with Ed Hillary or playing golf with Hogan. They're not the stars of this movie. They're playing a supporting role. Persistence is the star. Properly digest it in your mind. Persistence will make you a star. It will give you that #1 hit worldwide. How does an idea, a want, a dream get such a grip on a person that persistence becomes a natural outgrowth of it? Napoleon Hill explained this very well. Hill said at first the idea, the want, has to be coaxed and nursed and enticed just to remain alive. But gradually, the idea will take on a power of its own and sweep aside all opposition. It will then coax, nurse, and drive you. He went on to explain that ideas are like that. They have more power than the physical brains that gave birth to them. They have the power to live on long after the physical brain that's created them has turned to dust. So, have you decided what you want? It is almost a waste of time attempting to develop persistence if the want is not there, because the problems of life will defeat you. It's a well-known and documented fact that the problems of life are numerous. They come frequently and are often giants. When the dream is big enough, however, the problems will be beaten and the facts won't count. You must give these two concepts priority in your life: want and persistence. Make your want big and you will persist. Decide what you truly want and you will be persistent. Remember, if the want's big enough, the facts don't count. And also remember what Napoleon Hill said: there may be no heroic connotation to the word persistence, but the quality is to the character of the human being what carbon is to steel. So go and do it. Study success, choose your want and persist, and life will then be what it's meant to be.